These are stories that my gracious sister Shirley put together. Sorry. So I'll read most of them and then I'll recount a couple other things because they really bring a lot of memories up. And I think the cool thing about the next few days is to share more of those memories because we learn a lot more about her today when we hear these. So this is a story from Amy at her and Timmy's wedding. This was really meant to be light fare, so if there's something funny here, it's okay to laugh. So Amy said, at her wedding, while she was dancing with Grandpa, she asked if she could call him Grandpa, since she never knew any of her grandfathers. He said, I would be honored. It may seem small, but it meant a lot to her. The last piece of advice that he gave her was, if you put your money in the bank and don't touch it, it'll multiply. So he's definitely done that. Amy said she'll miss him coming around the bend, see him sitting in his chair in the garage. He always welcomed a visit from Allie and her, and the smile and the beer were always waiting. As you know, my dad came from a very large family. This story is from one of the sisters, Katie Mandel. She lives in Michigan. And they called him Billy. And she says, before Billy entered the service, and he did this when he was 15, he liked to sleep late, which I find hard to believe. But he did, so I guess when he was a kid, he liked to sleep late. And Katie knew how to input this code on the telephone to make it ring. And so the ringing would kind of wake him up, but every time that would happen, they would tell him, Billy, the phone's for you, Billy, the phone's for you, and he would fall for it every time. And so when he realized they tricked him, they knew they were in trouble, and they'd always scamper for the bushes and the weeds, and he probably never caught him. And this one's from Shirley. Shirley says it's about my dad. I agree with every bit of it. He wasn't one to necessarily show a soft side. On her wedding day, after he walked Shirley down the aisle, and by the way, I missed the ball game for your wedding. I want you to know that. And he dropped Shirley off at the altar and met Tom. My dad whispered something to Tom. And Shirley sat there thinking, boy, how sweet it was. And I kind of even remember that moment, although I was up there in a funny purple suit or something like that. Shirley said, oh, how sweet that was. And she couldn't wait to ask Tom what it was that he said. At the reception, she got her moment when Tom and her were together. She just wanted to know what were those wonderful words that came out of my dad's mouth. And Tom told her, word for word, I have the money for the organist in my pocket. It kind of reminds me of a story of I got to spend some time with my dad the last week he was around. And I started talking to him about, the life that he had and the best way to finish it. And he owed nothing to anyone. When he was ready, he should do it the way he wanted to do it, and he did. And I remember sitting there talking to him on his chair outside the garage. And I was asking him a couple things about, Dad, I want you to tell us how you want things to get done. And I was talking about his arrangements today and before. And he said, don't bother, just do what you want to do, in his decisive manner that he would have. And I said, are you sure, Dad? Because we really want to do what you want to do. And he looked at me, he thought, and then he got this look on his face, this really worried, anxious anxious look on his face, and he said, "I've got to go to the bathroom." and in his way, he could convey a message. My dad recycled before it was a cool thing to do. If you ever saw his garage, either of his garages, in Redford, up north especially, and even here, any bit of scrap, any bit of plastic, metal, anything, my dad would figure out another use. After its useful life, there was another use. And after his useful life, there'll be plenty of uses for his messages and what we learned from him and his memories. So one of the things he did is we had some outdoor carpet on the porch. It was red. Boy, I remember it just like it was yesterday. It was the ugliest stuff. You wouldn't even find it. I don't know where he could have possibly found this stuff. Probably Uncle Bed got it from him at Chevy Show and Display. This was some old ratty stuff. Well, he would take little pieces, cut up little squares. Actually, he would nip the corner in each of the corners to make it look good. He'd put a twig on each end of it and call it a fly swatter. And we used those things all the time to swat flies. Shirley recounted how he bought a pair of shoes one day. Did he get them in the mail or did he get them at a store? Oh, he did get them at a store. Yeah, he must have. Well, the tongue on the shoes was crooked, and as we all know, if there's nothing worse than a crooked tongue on a shoe. So he brought it back to the shoe store and said, "Can you fix the crooked tongue on these shoes?" And the guy looked at him and he goes, "Oh, sorry about that, sir. We'll give you another pair." And he said, "Well, can't you fix these?" The guy said, the sales guy said, "No, we don't fix them. We just throw them away." So my dad said, "You're going to throw away the shoes?" He said, "Yeah, but we'll give you another pair." My dad wouldn't allow that. He said, "Forget it." And he took his shoes, he brought them home, and he fixed that crooked tongue himself. He reused everything. Aluminum foil, Ziploc bags, prescription bottles. He'd spend 2 hours at least fixing a 50-cent part. His motto was fit, form, function. It didn't matter. If something was discolored and peeling paint that still worked, leave it alone. He was Mr. Fix-It. He once said, and I think he said it more often than once, "I can fix anything but a broken heart." Shirley was having a pool party one evening, as hard as that might be to believe. And my dad was discouraged from coming over. His health wasn't the best, but he could still walk over to Shirley's. And he only lived 6 houses away. So as the party got better and better, and the noise got better and better, Shirley got a phone call and the voicemail that said, from Dad, "Shirley, would you hold it down over there? The noise is exasperating." And from one of his caregivers at Vista, his nurse Pam was in his bedroom trying to assess his cognitive abilities as she knew he was slipping away. She asked what year it was, and he said 2000. And he thought about it and thought about it, and she said, "Close enough, that's close enough." And then she asked, "Well, who's the president?" And he looked at her, and breathing hard, he said, "Don't make me say it." Yep, so that's my dad. He's a lot of different things to a lot of different people. And I think, as I said before, and as Father Bergen said before me, the memories, the thoughts, make the complete person. And really, I'd like to take the next couple of days, not only to thank you for being here, but to share more memories of my dad, so that I'll know him more, and I'll know the complete person that he was.